As I write this, I'm about 2 months from turning 70. The funny part, in here I'm still maybe 25, if that. Would I like to have my 25-year-old body again? No. I'd rather have my 18-year-old body because I weighed 165 pounds and could eat as much as I wanted. Around 19, my metabolism changed and I've fought the battle of the bulge ever since. Would I like to go back and relive 18 or 25? Oh, hell no. Pardon my English. At least not unless I can know everything I know now about attention deficit disorder and being medicated. There are those who just can't let go and allow themselves to age. Among other things, the cosmetics industry thrives on them.
Nowhere in man's history does he display more tenacity, more perseverance than in his search for eternal youth. Halting the relentless process of aging has been a constant dream of man's and of woman's.
I could suggest they go visit Isabella Rossellini, but that didn't work out too well for Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep.
Hecate, neotitos calitheia, ten tes dules evkene pakosan, ke euminos takoteped, dehuten tahuten.
She's speaking ancient Greek with a mixture of ancient and modern pronunciation, best I can tell. She's praying to Hecate, who has a fairly convoluted mythology. For the most part, she was goddess of crossroads, entryways, things like that. She represented duality and choice, essentially. Like most of her immortal contemporaries, she went through several phases and represented various things. Youth was not one of them. They called her goddess of youth, but I don't know where they got that. Hebe was the goddess of youth in the Greek pantheon. Later on, Hecate became connected with death and passage to the underworld, and it was claimed she could return souls from Hades. In Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when Tara is killed, we see Willow call on Hecate to restore her. That's more in line with the later mythology about her. This isn't. But let's see where it goes.
September 20th, 8:05 p.m. William Covey, age 22, deeply concerned with retaining his youthful vigor, his trim physique. This concern had made him a dedicated jogger. Covey would never know if the jogging really helped. He was the first of a series of Chicagoans who were spared the ordeal of seeing their youth slip away, slowly.
Jogging was one of the health fads of the day. Did it help? I don't know. I never tried it. Another 100 yards or so and our man won't ever try it again. The bags under her eyes are gone. Everything is perfect. She stays young by stealing other people's vitality and youth. The jogger will go away on a gurney. Nobody will see the ring.
You are working on a swinging singles update, Carl, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What have you come up with so far?
Listen, there have been a lot of changes in the last 10 years in the dating scene.
Well, that was the reason for the update. You will have it on my desk by Friday, won't you?
Friday, right.
Fine.
Today, people call it hooking up. Every generation and every culture since the dawn of humanity has a name for it.
You know, Tony, there was something very peculiar about that old jogger.
This is very good. Quite good, Carl. We'll get the rest of it on Friday.
He was jogging along the river road.
Carl, forget about that fella. Nobody cares about 90-year-old people.
Keep trying, Tony. You'll get that foot all the way in your mouth someday. The jogger didn't have any ID, and based on where he was found, he had to have jogged 4 miles. A 22-year-old man might be able to do that. A 100-year-old man? Improbable. Tony doesn't care. He wants his swinging singles story, end of story.
The most conservative newspaper in Chicago has a classified column headed Social Clubs. The ads offer computer matching, astrological mating, but it all boils down to a simple need.
You want a girl, right?
Well, no, not exactly.
Don't worry, Carl. The Penguin will find you a girl. Kathleen Freeman is best known as Sister Mary Stigmata, the guiding light behind the Blues Brothers. Today, she's determined to see that Carl doesn't remain single, even though that's what he wants and no woman in her right mind would try to live with him. He wants to know how this whole thing works, but she's vague to the point of being a TV commercial. The only useful thing he'll get from her is a renewed determination to stay single.
What's your biggest competitor?
Oh, singles apartments, singles bars, computer matching.
Oh?
Have you ever been married?
No, never. Computer matching. I thought that went out with love beads.
Oh, well, I watched a lot of them fold up, but there's still a few left.
What's the biggest one?
Max Match.
Max.
Oh, these people. They're only concerned about youth and physical beauty. Egomaniacs trying to hook up with each other.
Yeah.
Max Match will be his next stop, but not before another bizarre elderly death. The perpetrator is in her temple again.
Dehuten dezien tahuten. Henhe sedule.
That's the problem with that thing she does. She has to keep doing it or the bags under her eyes come back. She can't have that. The first thing to know about Kathy Lee Crosby is she's no relation to Bing Crosby. She's a character actor who flourished in the 70s and 80s and is still busy today. She did have one long-running reality show called That's Incredible, sort of a Believe It or Not knockoff that explored the strange, the bizarre, the unlikely, and the amazing things that people can do. I know her best from the miniseries World War III, which starred Rock Hudson and Brian Keith. She was amazing in that one. And then there's the 1974 movie Wonder Woman. She did fine, but the movie itself was a genuine, you gotta be kidding me. From her outfit to the story and all the rest, it had very little to do with the comic book character. It has a 4.6 rating on IMDb, which I can pretty well agree with. It has an audience score of 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, which leaves me scratching my head and wondering who this audience was and why they're so easy to please. Right now, she's using the power of the ancient Greek deities to stay young and beautiful by stealing other people's lives. Her next victim is a young woman who's working out on her balcony. But that's okay. They're just little people, while she's... Who is she? The young woman has disappeared and nobody knows where the old woman came from. Carl is there trying to check out singles apartments when the police arrive. In good Kolchak fashion, he blends into the scenery in spite of this thing and follows them in.
That, please?
Yes, of course, sir. Now I was just looking for someone in authority to give it to.
Thank you.
What did the medical examiner say?
May I ask who you are?
Yes, of course, certainly. Kolchak, INS.
You're Kolchak?
Yeah, that's right.
You're the one the precinct captains are always talking about?
What do they say?
That you're a pinwheel.
Oh, well, that's because those idiots don't know what that...
Wait, I don't accept other people's judgments. I make my own evaluation.
He's new here. His name is Sergeant Orkin, and he wants to establish a cooperative relationship with the press. He couldn't find a worse member to start with. The last time we saw Dwayne Hickman, he was the ex-boyfriend of the ex-Elsie Etherington, a.k.a. Sister Bertrill, the Flying Nun. The girl's apartment has an open balcony door and the stereo is on, but the police won't think anything of it. Kolchak isn't so sure, but there's nothing he can put his finger on at the moment.
Has anybody been in to identify him?
Nope.
What about the old lady they brought in today?
You kidding? Read the coroner's report. Puts them both at about 100 years old.
Yeah?
Nobody comes in to identify people that age. You know, he must have lived a rich, full life to have hung on to such a ripe old age.
Yeah. It says down here the cause of death is heart failure. What about the old lady?
Same. Look, do you mind if I lower the sheet? My arms are getting tired.
Wait a minute, there's a mark on his finger here. Looks like a ring mark. You got the ring?
It may be in the personal belongings box.
Except it's not. But the old boy did have a glass eye. Gordy keeps it on his desk just for fun. There's also a key, nobody cares what it goes to. For letting him look in the box, Gordy has made Carl promise to buy him a TV set for the morgue.
I think the TV will go right there.
Uh-huh.
And if I'm not watching, let's make a deal. By the end of next week, there'll be no more deals down here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. If Monty Hall can't liven this place up, there's no hope.
Thanks a lot, Gordy.
If he's gonna spring for a TV set, he's gonna get his money's worth out of that box. His next stop is the park where the old man collapsed.
You there! There's no parking along this stretch of the road. What do you got there?
What?
What do you got there?
A four-leaf clover.
He knows the ring is significant, but at the moment he's tracking down that key. It has an apartment number stamped on it. It just doesn't say which of the squillion apartment buildings.
Come in.
Well, this is nice. Really?
It's comfortable for me. May I call you Lance?
Sure. That'd be terrific.
Well, the computer was right. You're charming.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Yes, she runs Max Match. You can bet every male client hopes he'll be matched with her.
Max Match is very exclusive in itself, Lance, but within the general membership, there are superior people. Truly superior in every respect.
Superior how? That's a vague word unless we mean the lake. The most superior people I know are the ones who pour themselves out for other people, who bring hope to the hopeless, comfort to the comfortless, and a hand up to the oppressed. That's genuine superiority. And the funniest thing about those superior people, they don't even realize it. They do it because it's the right thing to do. That really is superior to most of us.
You will be a member of the Olympians.
Is it expensive?
No, there's no charge. It's an indulgence of mine. You see, beauty and youth are the most important things in the world to me. I have to ask you a question. It's very important. Was everything on your application truthful? I mean, do you have any physical imperfection?
No, none at all.
But there is something.
Well, my name really isn't Lance Mervyn. I changed it legally.
Well, that doesn't matter.
His name was actually Irving without the G on the end, so you can tell him and me apart, and his mother still calls him that. Did his application mention that he still lives with her?
This makes you an Olympian. Congratulations. Now all the gods and goddesses will know who you are. And this scroll makes it official.
The ring looks just like the one that fell off the old woman and the one that Carl found in the grass. It's not hard to figure out that the ring is how she marks her victims. And Carl is wearing one.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
The place looks as though someone just stepped out for a short time, but other indications say nobody has been here for at least a couple of days.
William Cubby, Max Match Corporation. The occupant's name was William Cubby, and whatever he was now, he had been considered a very special singles by Max Match just a few days ago. The scroll welcomed him into the inner circle of the super beautiful, the perfect people. But perhaps Cubby wasn't perfect.
And why would an old man who collapsed in the park and also happened to have a fake eye have this fella's apartment key? There's a spare glass eye in a case on the desk. Carl will take it with him. He's starting to get the feeling Mr. Cubby doesn't need it anymore. Elsewhere, Irving is waiting to meet his date. They're supposed to play tennis. Once again, nobody can figure out why a 100-year-old guy in a tennis outfit with a racket sat down on a park bench at night and died.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, I thought about you immediately. About what you said about wanting to work in concert with the press, with me.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah. Well, here's our opportunity. I mean, you can provide me with the proof that I need.
Proof? Proof that the 100-year-old jogger is actually a 22-year-old stereo salesman named William Cubby, that the two men are one and the same?
Yeah, that's right, right.
Carl needs to learn the fine art of circumlocution. That means coming at it in a roundabout way instead of throwing the most outlandish idea he's ever heard in the sergeant's face. If he had any language skills, he'd ask about the key and go from there. Why did John Doe have William Cubby's key in his pocket? Why was he wearing a jogging suit just like the one Cubby owned? Make him answer those questions and come to the conclusion. But Kolchak has all the oratory skill of a charging rhinoceros.
Now, what you have to do is you have to see if Cubby ever had his fingerprints taken. Then you take those fingerprints and you go down to the lab and you lift the prints off the old man down there and you compare the two of them. And if you do, that's our proof. That's all the proof that I need. You need. We need.
First, just go to the apartment and collect some fingerprints from there. Duh. You can pass it off as a missing persons case, and you can pass off printing the corpse under trying to identify him. Second, you do not tell this guy he has to do anything, Mr. Rhinoceros.
I can just see the print boys' faces when I tell them why I want the work. Hey, what key the old man had? How'd you get this? Did you take personal belongings out of the morgue?
Oh, would I do a thing like that?
You robbed our Cook County morgue?
Well, Sergeant, you know, it isn't a shrine. It's just a morgue.
Get out.
Now, there was an old...
I said get out.
But I thought we were going to work in concert together.
Concert? When I start waving my baton, it'll be over your head.
Well, that's the way you feel about it.
There's only one episode left after this one, so it's fair to assume he'll never figure out what he did wrong. Does wrong. Makes a habit of doing wrong. Then again, if he ever did figure it out, he wouldn't be the character we've come to know and tolerate. He's off to Cynthia Tibbs' apartment. He's reasonably sure the old woman used to be the young chick who lived there.
How about it? Have you seen Cynthia Tibbs?
Nothing. Like I told you police before, that's her lifestyle, you know, in and out, come and go. She's probably right here in the building, in another apartment.
For 2 whole days?
Guess you haven't been single for a few years.
I was never that single.
What's that? Some kind of clue?
This is certified Cynthia Tibbs been selected by the Max Match Corporation. Looks like she...
This is getting a little too coincidental. Max Match, here we come.
Miss?
Could you fill these out, please?
Sure. Miss, could I have...
Hey, what's all this medical background? Scars and operations? You really get personal.
That's the idea. It makes it exclusive.
They want to match you with someone who has the same scars so your offspring are born pre-scarred.
I like it that way.
Hey, under partner preference, I'm going to put down vegetarian Sagittarius on the cusp. What do you think?
I'll take any chick who's on a macrobiotic diet, who's into tantric yoga.
Whatever happened to the girl just like the girl that married dear old Dad? It's a song. Miss?
Would you follow me, please?
It's not hard to figure out why they're ignoring him, but the owner, Helen Surtees by name, will talk to him.
I'm sorry. I think there's been a misunderstanding. You see, we only accept people under 30.
Uh-huh. Well, is that for your general membership, or is that restricted to the special group that you call the Olympians?
That look tells him he's in the right place.
Now, why would an attractive man like you be here?
I want to be an Olympian.
You don't need us. You're very male. You have the confidence to dress as you like, and I suspect do as you like with everything, Mr.
Kolchak.
Kolchak.
Yeah. Boy, this is really some office. I've never seen. You should see the joint that I have to work in.
What do you do, Mr. Kolchak?
I'm a writer. You know, I've never seen painted furniture like that before in an office. It's just terrific. You got more of it back there?
Our computer's back there.
Oh.
Not very aesthetic.
And now he knows the next place he needs to explore, because anybody who has a computer in 1974 is going to want to show it off. That club is even more exclusive than the Olympians. When she comes up with an excuse to usher him out, he knows he's in the right place. And she knows he's trouble.
After my enlightening conversation with the beautiful Helen Surtees, I ran a check through tax records and business licenses. The Max Match dating service was almost brand spanking new. No one knew where it came from or what other branches it had. It seemed to me that such mysterious origins warranted what we in the press call the midnight interview.
There's always a way into most any place if you want to find it bad enough. This won't require anything like that much effort. A convenient window with a simple latch will only take a few seconds to open. Now, Monty, what's behind the curtain? I'd really like to know if Kathy Lee Crosby memorized all that Greek or if she had cue cards. I wouldn't blame her either way. It's been a long time since I spoke any ancient Greek in discussion with someone, so I'm really excited to know I can still recognize it by hearing.
Neotitos kalethea, ten testules efkene pagosan. Nianis amamos te, ke kale esios, ke tapen proteas.
For once, he has the good sense not to disturb her. Unlike me, he doesn't know what language it is, so he'll record a bunch of it and take it to someone who might know.
Renee Michelle, first grade teacher, was anticipating an exciting evening arranged for her by the Max Match Corporation. But her kids had worn her out that day, making her feel older than her 23 years. Renee had opted for a nap before getting dressed. Renee never heard her alarm. She never awoke from her nap. The next day, Renee's class would have a substitute teacher.
I've done substitute teaching. I don't envy that person. Especially when they have to explain what happened to regular teacher.
I don't get it. Your hunch was right about it being Greek, but it's ancient Greek. A prayer for a sacrifice to Hecate, the goddess of youth.
What kind of a sacrifice?
What kind of sacrifice? All that mattered was that they be physically perfect.
Oh, so this Hecate had pretty high standards, right?
All the Greek gods were easily offended. Everything had to be absolutely perfect. Just right.
Which means they don't wear a battered old hat and a cheap sport coat. He should understand now why everybody at Max Match was ignoring him.
As if it came out of a computer, right? Here, I think this is the sacrificer right here. Here.
Most beautiful woman in the world. The face that launched 1,000 ships. Helen of Troy.
Hey, that's Helen Surtees. I mean, she runs the Max Match computer company.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
She resembles every statue of Helen I've ever seen.
Kaz there has degrees in the classics and used to teach. He quit and became a cab driver because there was less stress. In the credits, the actor is listed as Demosthenes, which really threw me for a loop, especially after I found out the episode is about ancient Greeks. The original Demosthenes was an orator and lawyer in the 4th century BCE, but today's Demosthenes is a stage name. His real name is George Savalas, and he's Telly Savalas' younger brother. His middle name was Nicholas, but somewhere along the way he changed it to Demosthenes, and when he got a starring role in Kolchak alongside his brother, he started calling himself that to avoid confusion. Rather than let us know he has the same last name as the star, he went by an ancient Greek name that a lot of people can't even pronounce, to avoid confusion. Okay?
Oh, anyway, Helen was half mortal. She was a demigoddess, and she'd made a deal with Hecate.
Randolph, please.
No, I'm sorry, Jack. This cab's taken.
No hurry. I got a hangover and kill a buffalo. Conventions of murder.
Yeah, I can tell, yeah.
The story he's telling is on the fringes of the mythology. Most of the mainline material says she was a daughter of Zeus, but some cults actually considered her a daughter of Hecate, hence the immortality and beauty and all the rest. Other stories make her an incarnation of Hecate or one of the other goddesses. Like everything from the classical Greek period, it's convoluted and often contradictory. The version Kaz is telling Kolchak is as good as any of them. The thing is, there's no one solid story about whatever became of her. None of the stories that I was able to track down mentions her death or any other sort of end. So if we start with the idea that she was a real person, all that leaves open the door for all this to happen.
All right, now suppose something went wrong with the sacrifices. What happened?
The wrath of the gods. A shepherd once put up a sick lamb for sacrifice to Diana.
Yeah?
She turned it to stone.
Stone?
Not too bright. Now he can't bring her anything, healthy, sick, or otherwise. She should have thought it through a little more.
Kaz, were the sacrifices to Hecate prepared in any special way?
No, nothing elaborate. They were always marked with some kind of medallion or ornamentation of some kind.
No ornamentation? You mean like a ring?
Exactly like a ring. The certificate of authenticity is optional, but Helen gives them just to stroke the victim's ego.
All right, come on, Kaz, let's get this thing off, huh? Mayonnaise?
It's an old Greek remedy.
Anything slick should do it, but this time nothing will do the trick. It ain't coming off. He's marked, flawed or not. And in good Kolchak fashion, he did it to himself. Kaz suggests the only other way to stop Helen is to destroy her temple, but he's not completely sure that'll work. Still, Carl will give it a try. Helen still hasn't learned to lock that one window, so he's in before you know it. Might as well get to destroying. I'd start with that altar. It's plainly the centerpiece of the room. I said I'd start with the altar. Kolchak isn't that perceptive.
Strenuous exercise for a man your age, isn't it?
Well, it's pretty strenuous exercise for a man any age.
You ruined some very expensive statues. Museum quality.
I suppose it's pointless to ask how you come to have them.
And what did it get you?
Well, your temple's ruined. According to Kaz, Hecate ought to be destroying you about now.
I don't think you're qualified to speak for Hecate. It's you she'll destroy. You had the stupidity to put on that ring.
And that explains why it won't come off. As I said, he's marked. But if ever there was a flawed sacrifice, he's it. She really thinks Hecate will accept him? I think Hecate's giving you her answer about him.
As a matter of fact, I'm not the first imperfect offering you've made. Did you know that William Cubby wore this? It's a glass eye.
You're lying!
No, I'm not lying. I think little Willie Cubby was. Yeah, you see, he didn't say anything to you at all, huh?
Ha-ha! You made fools of the gods!
Remember what Diana did to that shepherd?
I don't need any photographs of Helen. You see, she would always be as she always was. Cold and beautiful and unchanging.
Hecate bought the rights to use it on Helen. Carl's ring fell off while that was happening. Now let's see just how stupid he is.
As a postscript, I offer this bit of advice. Should you ever find a ring, no matter how pretty or valuable, consider well before you slip it on your finger. You may never get it off again.
It literally took an act of the gods to get it off him the first time, and this genius puts it back on to illustrate a point. And here he stands with a busted altar, so he can't even ask Hecate to do it again. Dogger will go away. Go.